You ever wonder how your phone gets a super fast, stable connection even when you're in a packed stadium or a busy city? Well, a huge part of that magic comes down to one single, really powerful technology. So let's get into it. We're going to break down exactly what MIMO is and how it makes our connected world possible.
All right, so let's just cut right to the chase. What exactly is MIMO? What is this technology that's become so fundamental to pretty much all modern wireless communication?
So, MIMO is an acronym, right? It stands for Multiple Input, Multiple Output. And honestly, the name pretty much tells you the whole story. It's all about using multiple antennas on both ends of the conversation, so on the cell tower and on your smartphone, to send and receive multiple streams of data all at the exact same time. You can think of it like upgrading a single-lane country road to a massive multi-lane superhighway for your data. Now, this technology comes in a couple of key flavors. The first one we're going to look at is multi-user MIMO, or MU-MIMO for short. And as you can probably guess, that multi-user part, well, that's everything. Think about how older Wi-Fi used to work. A router could really only talk to one device at a time. It was basically a one-at-a-time situation. You'd get your data, then the next person would, and so on. It happened really fast, sure, but you were still waiting in line. MU-MIMO completely changes that game. It lets a router or a cell tower serve a whole bunch of users at the same time. It does this using a really clever technique called Space Division Multiple Access, or SDMA, which basically uses the physical space between all of us to send each person their own dedicated non-interfering signal. No more waiting your turn. Okay, so that brings us to our next format. If MU-MIMO is that multi-lane highway we talked about, then massive MIMO? Well, that's like building a futuristic, multi-level mega highway on top of it. It takes that same core idea and just scales it up, way, way up. And this right here shows you where massive MIMO really gets to shine. You know, its most important real-world job today is powering our 5G networks, where the demand for data is just absolutely astronomical. And this is where the scale just gets mind-boggling. We're not talking about 2 or 4 antennas here. We are talking about base stations that are loaded with hundreds of them. Now, what's really cool is this idea of directing beams. This giant array of antennas lets the system create these incredibly narrow, focused, almost laser-like beams of data that are aimed directly at individual users. This is exactly how 5G delivers on its promises. It cuts down interference and lets tons of people stream in 4K, all in the same packed area. Okay, so we've covered the what and the how. But let's bring this back to the real world for a second. Why should you even care about any of this MIMO stuff? You know, when you boil it all down, it comes to these 3 huge benefits. First, it just dramatically increases the total capacity of the entire network. Second, it boosts something called spectral efficiency, which is just a fancy way of saying we get way more data packed into the limited airwaves that we have. And finally, all of this means our networks can actually support all of us in crowded cities and stadiums, letting thousands of people stream and browse without grinding the whole system to a halt. So from MIMO all the way to the massive MIMO that's powering our 5G world, this tech is really the unsung hero of modern connectivity. But it makes you think, right? Our appetite for data is only getting bigger. So what's the next leap forward going to be? What will antenna technology look like in the era of 6G and beyond?